Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video, I'm going to be going over how to solo Upper Karazhan as a Retribution Paladin. So throughout my soloing journey, which I've been sharing with everybody, and soloing of Legion Remix, I've gotten a lot of questions, obviously, right? And obviously I've tried to respond to most of those, and a lot of them are about like how much verse I need to have to do this, but I can only give roundabout guesses for those, which I've tried to do. Instead, I decided I am going to try to make, for all the dungeons if I can, but many dungeons, guides on how to do the dungeon specifically and how to handle certain mechanics. So we can cut out a lot of the fluff of, pulls that don't really matter or aren't very difficult, and just kind of go over what you need to do and like how to do it. Make sure you time the key, make sure you stay alive, etc. I'm going to be doing this on a plus 40. I'm trying to find the right level of where it's not so easy that I one-shot everything, but it's also not so hard that I can't stop and explain something when it's happening, and I have to be fighting for my life all the time. So we're going to try 40 for this Upper Kara. Maybe in other dungeons we'll try a different key level. Let's try 40 here. It's also worth noting here that we are playing this top row Call of the Forest. This does the most damage now. Obviously, Twisted Crusade is very popular. The trinkets are still really good. So like Fell Touched and Terror from Below and Volatile Magics, those things are still really good. But the Call of the Forest is just really powerful and it's going to do probably the most damage for you. So we're using Call of the Forest. So when we get started in Upper Kara, the first pulls are so annoying in Upper Kara to solo. You're going to have to deal with these mobs. And we have teaming this week, so we have extra mobs. So right in here, we have a Forlorn Spirit and a Shrieking Terror. I'm going to target the Terror because it's going to fear me, and that doesn't allow me to play the game. Obviously, normally we would do a bigger pull than this in any other situation where there wasn't teaming. But there's actually 3 more of these types of ghosts right after this. So what we're going to do is we're going to single target down this Terror. So we're just going to go, and I will put the talents below as well as I have on most of the videos. And we're going to be waiting for the Terror to cast, and we're going to interrupt this cast. So we're just full single targeting. Now the other one is casting as well, a Soul Leech ability. And so we're just going to walk out of that. We obviously don't have 2 interrupts, so we can't interrupt the Soul Leech. So now that that's dead, we can technically move on to the next one. Now the problem is with this next group is there's going to be 2 Terrors. So we're going to use our bubble. We're going to run out of the Soul Leech. Whenever we see Soul Leech, we're going to run out of it. We're going to use our bubble on this first one. We can also stay in the Soul Leech when our bubble's up. And we're going to kill this first Shrieking Terror. And then we're going to go to interrupting this other Shrieking Terror. Now this is only for teaming. Normally this key would not have this many. And I'll explain really quickly what I do normally in this key when you don't have teaming. So normally, let's get this one dead. Normally what would I do is there's going to be these normal ones, the Forlorn Spirits, and we're just going to run by them, hit them a little bit, get some dots on them and stuff, your X-Perg and stuff. And we're just going to kite them all the way up to the top normally. We're going to go all the way to the top. They're going to stop and cast their Soul Leech all the time. And then there's just 1 Terror up here. And we're going to do that same idea that we did down at the bottom. But we're going to focus down the Terror. We're going to interrupt its Shriek. And then we're going to... its Terrifying Wail, I mean. And then we're going to run out of the other 2 when they come up. And so that's just generally how you do that if there's not teaming. As we move to the next room, there is something important to note. So you can skip these mobs. It's hard. You kind of got to go almost right in the middle. I go slightly to the right, like a pixel or 2 to the right. And we're going to fight this Nullifier. We're going to fight him by himself. He's not actually that scary, but the problem is the Nullify ability. And a lot of people that I've ran with don't actually know how this mechanic works. You just have to walk over here to this purple stuff on the floor. It's like your image, and you just got to step in that. Obviously, you want to play the affixes, no matter what week it is, and try to get these buffs. So this room will not normally have these damaged golems in them. They're going to do a big AoE stuff. And normally they won't be in this room. I'm going to pull everything together, even despite these things. And if you're overpowered for the key, you can pull this pull right into boss if you want as well. If you're struggling a little bit, then you want to do this pull before the boss. Because I have the damage golems, I'm going to personally do it before the boss. But there's not too much to show here, so we might be able to move into the boss. But we're just going to pull this all together. we can at least show what the damage golems do in case you do pull one of them. They do these swirlies everywhere. You just want to dodge them the best you can. Alright, so when it comes to the Curator, he takes damage when he runs out of mana, essentially. He takes extra damage. So we want to make sure we have cooldowns up for that. So you can see evocation is 45 seconds. So we're not even going to use our Divine Toll or 1 minute. Now technically we could get the Mythic Plus Affix and have that, you know, lower our cooldowns or whatever, or regenerate our abilities faster. The only thing you're really in danger here is the stuff on the floor. Just make sure you get out of that. You know, a lot of the stuff in Legendary Mix you can just stand in. You kind of want to get out of that stuff at least. And you can just kind of kite him around the room. The nice thing about soloing this boss is that he does not, you know, one of the hard parts about him is he denies the room in a full group because that stuff goes under every single player. But when you're by yourself, only one of them goes down, and it's basically impossible to fill the room when you're by yourself, unless, you know, you take a really long time. Okay, so now he's evocating, so now we're going to pop all of our cooldowns, and we're just going to try to jam all of our damage right into here and finish him off. Because I'm, you know, a little bit stronger for this key, I'm going to do it in 1, but it's very common to get 2 or 3 evocates. It's very, very common to do that. Alright, we'll move on to the Shade of Medivh area. Alright, so for this one, now, first of all, there's 2 here because it's teaming. I recommend just skipping these. Now, they don't follow you, but I just actually just like to avoid getting in combat with them altogether. So I just kind of wait till they pass by. You can either use your, you know, freedom if you have it talented like mine and give you speed, or you can use your horse. And we're just going to skip these and go into this next little room here. And normally on non-teaming, there'll only be 1 of them. But we're going to pull this guy. We're actually going to kill this guy because he does follow us. Now, generally, I kind of, especially with the weekly affixes, I like to try to kill this guy as fast as I can without using all my cooldowns, of course. Because if I can, I want to have the affix for the boss. This boss is actually really good with this weekly affix, Shade of Medivh. But he's actually really tricky otherwise, and we'll go over why that is. We probably won't stick with the whole boss fight unless he dies really quickly. But he basically just has this ability called Frostbite, and that's going to kind of be our bane of existence here. So we want to interrupt Frostbite because it's going to freeze us, right? And when it freezes us, the only way we can get broken out is if he casts Inferno Bolt on us. But he also has an Arcane Missiles ability, and the Arcane Missiles ability does all the damage, and it will kill you if you're doing a key appropriate to your verse. It will kill you if it's like a push key for your verse. So if you're 200 verse and you're trying to do a plus 30 or something like that, right? The Arcane Missiles will kill you while you're frozen. And so basically what you want to do is so you interrupt Frostbite. If he goes to cast another Frostbite right away, you can bubble it off. But first, see if he's going to cast Inferno Bolt on you. If he's going to cast Inferno Bolt on you, just let it go. And then, but if he's going to cast missiles on you, you probably want to bubble it off. Now, your interrupt will be up for the next one. But let's say he does 2 in a row again of Frostbite. Then what I do is I pre-Shield of Vengeance it, because I don't have interrupt. So where I would normally press interrupt because it's down, I press like my Shield of Vengeance, right? And that's going to allow me to at least survive 1 Arcane Missiles. And if he goes Arcane Missiles into another Frostbite into an Inferno Bolt, I'm still fine. If he goes Arcane Missiles into another Frostbite into another Arcane Missiles, then I'll probably die, right? And so there is some RNG to it. However, this week with the affix being it lowers your cooldowns or whatever, or makes your cooldowns come back faster, it also works for like your interrupt. So if you have that buff while fighting him, you'll be able to continually interrupt the Frostbite. So it's actually much easier this week than other weeks, but that's generally how it works. We'll show you how it works as well. So let's go ahead and get into Shade of Medivh here. So we're just going to go. He's doing the piercing missiles, Arcane Missiles I was calling them. Here comes an Inferno Bolt. We're just going to let all this stuff cast. So here comes the first Frostbite. Here comes another Frostbite right away. Okay, so we're going to see what he does here. He does a missiles. Let's see if we can... We're on a little bit of a key where we can survive this. If he does another missiles, we'll just bubble out of it. Okay, so here comes an Inferno Bolt. It's going to break us out. So that was an extremely unlucky thing right away. That's not generally going to happen. But it does happen, though, for sure. All right, so then we're gonna get this thing, and this is gonna give us, oh, Flame Wreath we can't move. Ooh, that's bad. Okay, we got into position first. So Flame Wreath just means don't move. Right now we have this thing, it's making our interrupts come up really quickly. So we should be able to interrupt everything that he does from now. I do want to see an intermission though, so I'm gonna try not to finish him off here. Just so I can, the intermission's pretty easy actually. So the intermission, he just summons 3 like owls or something on the edge. Oh, here it is. We're going to see it. So here, all you want to make sure you do for this is really easy. You can use your interrupt freely on your first 2 kills. You want to have your interrupt up when you come out in case he goes right into frostbite. You can use your 30 seconds on the first or second one that you kill. If you want to, you can use your 1 minute on the first one you kill. And then, but you do want to try to have these coming up. Now, if you stay in this phase too long, it will get dangerous. But you do want to kind of just, you can just sit here and hold DPS until your cooldowns come up. Because this fight will be hard on non-weeks where you don't have the full interrupts. And sometimes you're just going to have to wipe. That's just the reality. You're just going to get so unlucky, so unbelievably unlucky that you're just going to die to Frostbite, Arcane Missiles, and him never casting Infernal Bolt. He'll just go like randomly without casting Infernal Bolt, and you just have no chance to survive that essentially. So we'll finish him off, and we'll head over to the next area. All right, we're coming up to the Mana Devourer here. I usually skip this trash if I can. I jump down onto the chest, and then I try to like follow this bookshelf. If you pull the book, all you have to know about the book is that you have to interrupt it. When you get to low health, it tries to like heal itself up. Just interrupt that. So for this boss, we'll go over it really quickly. Bubble's our friend here. We need Bubble up. So if you don't have Bubble up, or it's not going to be up within like a minute or so, you might want to remix your time or wait for it. So we do need our Bubble up. He's basically going to get charge up his mana. He's a Mana Devourer. And sometimes he's going to disperse some of his mana into these balls that you have to soak. The balls make you do more damage, which is really good. So you want to collect them for that. But they also do damage to you. So this is a key where you really will find out if you're in too high of a key for your verse. Because on this boss, basically what will happen is if you are soaking too many balls, you will die, right? But you have to because you're doing it solo. And if this thing gets to full mana, he basically explodes and one-shots you. Now you can survive that with your bubble. Basically, you need to be watching his mana. As soon as he gets to 100, I recommend just bubbling. There is a chance that he will disperse his mana right when he gets to 100, and it'll be a wasted bubble, and you'll probably wipe unless you're overgeared and you can do the phasing faster than normal. But yeah, it can be pretty rough. So let's show you a little bit how this fight works. You can tank him in the corner to kind of like force the balls to spawn a certain way, but I actually I don't know if that's the best thing to do solo actually. But we'll pop all of our cooldowns. You could technically wait until the first round of balls to pop all of your cooldowns. Maybe just pop your 30 seconds on pull if you really wanted to maximize. The point of these circles, this void stuff on the floor right here, is to discharge your stacks from collecting the balls that you're going to see here shortly. However, that does a ton of damage to you. So I actually don't recommend discharging your stacks if you can help it. If you have to bubble later on, the bubble will remove the stacks. So we're going to try to grab these balls as many as we can and not let the devourer get them. So I don't know if we got all of them, but we got a good amount of them there. So now we can see all damage dealt is increased by 100%. We're doing, so it's like 10% each stack. So we're doing a lot of damage here. So this guy's going to get kind of melted down. So I'll just kind of sit here and white hit him for a second. Because again, I'm in a key that's a little bit easy for me. So here comes more balls. And again, we're going to try to get all of these balls. Or as many as we can. And sometimes the spawns are better than others for them. And so you can see he's out. Sometimes after the second set, he'll be getting close. He'll be like in the 80s of mana. But if you have good sets of balls that you can collect all of them, it's not nearly as bad. So let's see here. I kind of want to show you the bubble part, but I don't know if we're going to get to or not. I mean, I could let them go into them, I guess. So again, we would try to collect these balls. Let's say I like miss a bunch of them. They're going into him here. This becomes much scarier when you're in a harder key because you're more at risk of dying essentially, right? So he's at 90 mana, 95, 100. I'm a bubble. Oh, of course he did the thing where he dispersed mana right when he got to 100. So right now, if in a normal setting, you would really need to collect all these, or else you would wipe because he's going to get to 100 at some point, and you're not going to have bubble for it. But that was actually a really good spawn anyway, so I was able to get most of them. But he actually did the thing there, so that's actually good to show. He can get to 100 and disperse mana right away. But it's still, if you don't bubble, it will one-shot you. Alright, so we come to this next area after him. These devourers, you know, they're pretty easy to deal with, to be honest. But you can, the biggest thing with these is just don't stand still in them if they're giving you any trouble at all. Because they do, like, shoot out these little orbs, mana orb type things. And so that can be a little bit troublesome. So there's those little mana orb things in the back there, arcane orbs, whatever. I just kind of like kite them backwards while I kill these things. In a hierarchy, they don't die quite this fast, so sometimes I'll actually just keep hitting them while I'm running. Just keep hitting, and then I'll actually come over here and pull this next mob. Specifically now, because of this teaming, there's more of this crap. So these mobs are really annoying. This guy can knock you off the edge. So if you have those devourers especially still, I actually recommend just pulling him back here. Or not the devourers, the little mana guys. Pull him back here and fight him in here. Because he's going to knock you backwards, right? Because this is teaming, it's super annoying. You have to also dodge out of the stuff that this pyromancer throws. And so you have very limited room here. So on this level key, what I could do is I could just run through and bring these guys into the chest room, all 4 of them. But in a higher key, where if this were like a push key for me, I wouldn't want to necessarily do that. And so I'd either fight this Slayer. You don't want to fight him going downhill because he's going to punch you off. So you either want to fight him on this ramp, fight him in the hallway, go back up very slowly. But the problem is that this pyromancer is going to deny you room. And then you're going to end up pulling the other 2, which are going to deny you room as well. So let's, just for the sake of this, show you how like I would pull him back here real quick. And then we won't go through all of this, but you could just pull him back in here, for example. And then if you're worried about it at all, this will keep you safe. You just run out of that stuff, etc. there. So, and then you just fight this guy. I would just single target this guy down if you don't want to get punted off the edge. Getting punted off the edge is like what I call just like an automatic lose scenario, right? And so you can avoid that. Just avoid it. We're just going to pull these guys now. Now, normally this guy wouldn't be here, and there'd only be one fireball guy at the top. So we're going to pull all of these guys into the chest room. And we'll pick up in the chest room. Alright, when it comes to chess, basically we're going to kill the mobs and then kill the king. I end up usually killing all the mobs except for like 1. And then I finish off the king. But first we have to deal with these pyromancers. So normally you'd only be bringing 1 in here. But because of teaming, we have more than 1. So we're just going to pop everything on these. And these little fell meteor things on the ground that they're going to put, they actually do a lot of damage. So that's like the biggest thing you want to be looking out for. So these things right here. So be watching. So right now you're just kind of chilling out, right? You're AoEing, you're feeling good. But you need to kind of watch your health, because when these things blow up, they could, you know, chunk you pretty quickly, I would say. So obviously, again, I'm on a key that's easy enough for me to do this video for. But otherwise, you might want to use your Shield of Vengeance. You might want to use your Bubble. But mostly only for teaming. You're only going to be dealing with 1 of these on most weeks. So it's not that bad. It's just because we had to deal with 3 where it's a little bit rough. So when you kill a mob, let's work on this queen, I guess, here. Bit of a higher health one, but that's okay. Obviously, you can AoE if there's 2 of them near each other. This chess event just takes a while, unfortunately. Alright, so now the king's vulnerable. So you can come over here and do damage to the king. You don't have to, because unless you're going to one-phase it, which, again, you probably won't if it's an actual like push key. And then once he is unvulnerable, he's going to take a lot less damage. But as you kill more and more pieces, he takes more damage without having to be in that vulnerable phase. So now he's vulnerable again. You can go back to him. I like to try to AoE. I would say in a push key, even when the king was vulnerable, if there was like 3 mobs, 3 of the pieces right next to each other, I would actually probably just DPS those 3 instead of hitting the vulnerable king, just because I'm going to eventually, on a push key, I'm going to have to kill a few of these anyways. So we'll pick it up here at Viz'aduum. Okay, so it's worth pointing out I didn't have percent there. This is teaming, so I'm like trying to skip as much stuff as I can. But like in that mana devourer room, right after the mana devourer boss, there's more devourers that you can pull if you want. You can pull a couple bats on here, like I just did after the chess event, if you need to. But I was pulling less stuff on purpose, just because I know that, you know, it's teaming week. So, you know, obviously do your percentages. That's just simple Mythic Plus stuff. That's not, you know, Ret Paladin specific or anything. All right, so Viz'aduum, he's actually a very, very easy boss for us. We're not too worried about him. There's a couple things to note, and it's his portals. And then, of course, don't just... You interrupt Burning Blast when you can. But his portals are going to matter. And then also the Fell Beam. You don't want to completely deny yourself space. Disintegrate, don't get knocked off the edge by that. It's just a frontal, right? So I'm going to try not to deny myself space with this. Sometimes I'll just stand in it in my Shield of Vengeance. Oh, I accidentally drug him in to the crap, which is not great. And then when he gets to 2/3 health, like 66%, he's going to do a portal. I got hit by that disintegrate. Normally you wouldn't want to do that. So for the first portal, to avoid him resetting, let him go through it before you. So let him go. Okay, now you go. And that first portal will be fine. When we get to the second portal, what we're going to want to do is let him go, because when you're soloing it, it can just bug out. For the second portal, we're going to let him go like 5 seconds, and then we're going to join him, because that's just the way it is. It just kind of bugs out. On this platform can also sometimes bug. He just keeps casting Disintegrate, which is really nice when that happens. But obviously, you can't count on that happening. But it's mostly the same as phase 1. Interrupt Burning Blast. Don't get hit by Disintegrate, frontals. And you know, that's mostly what this phase is. I think he can randomly shoot down stuff as well. So here comes the portal. We're gonna let him go through it. I'm gonna count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's go. And it shouldn't glitch out now. Now sometimes you can just follow him right away and it doesn't glitch out, right? But we just want to make sure. So once he gets landed and catches the Stabilized Rift, you're pretty much free. Stabilized Rift. Now the point of this cast originally was just, this is the time you had to kill these ads, but we don't really care about that. But we don't have to kill the ads right away is the thing. There's also going to be a Shadow Phlegm. You can see that on my little tracker thing there. Just don't get hit by that purple stuff on the floor. It does hurt really bad. Do as much damage to him before interrupting Stabilized Rift, but obviously do not let him stabilize the Rift. Dodge Disintegrates. Dodge the Shadow Phlegm on the ground. And then it's just he's gonna summon more ads, and it's just repeat over and over. This boss is nothing hard there, so nothing too difficult with him. You can bubble off this stuff. You know, there's a lot of ways to stay safe here. So there we go. That's how you do Karazhan upper Ret Paladin style. If you have questions, of course, you can ask them below. Looks like my key rolled the Black Red Cold, so the next one we do will probably be Black Red Cold. And yeah, that's just how you do it. So. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Other than that, I do ask everyone to please subscribe to the channel. That helps me out a lot. If you're already a subscriber, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. Other than that, everybody, have a good one.